Howdy, we are now moving on to Chapter 6, Part 3, where we get into this diversification and some of these links a little bit more. So with value creating diversification, we can look at related constrained and related linked diversification. So the company is using the related diversification strategy because it wants to develop and exploit economies of scope between its businesses. So firms create value or save costs through economies of scope by building upon or extending resources, capabilities, and core competencies. Firms seek to create value from economies of scope through two basic kinds of operational economies. One would be sharing activities, and one would be transferring corporate level core competencies, corporate relatedness. So let's talk for a little bit about sharing activities. An example of this sharing activities could be Amazon. They sell products online, and then they're able to achieve economies of scope by using their strength as an online company to create Amazon Web Services and leverage their ability to provide cloud services to others that they're already providing for themselves. They also share activities in that they do much of their own distribution, essentially competing with other logistics companies like FedEx and UPS, having built their own airline and trucking network and even delivery vans for last mile delivery. Amazon shares a lot of activities. There are also corporate level core competencies. This may be something like branding or reputation. So we could talk about how the value of a brand allows a company to use its resources to benefit itself. So sharing activities is usually associated with the related constrained diversification corporate level strategy. Activity sharing is costly to implement and coordinate. It may create unequal benefits for the divisions involved and can lead to fewer managerial risk-taking behaviors. So firms can create operational relatedness by sharing a primary activity such as inventory delivery systems, or support activities such as purchasing practices. We might see as an example of this Walmart that delivers inventory through its stores in very similar ways, even though the inventory itself is very different. They also are very good at purchasing. The ability to purchase in bulk allows them to be efficient, whether they're acquiring flour, bananas, or t-shirts. Activity sharing requires sharing strategic control over business units. The actual operations have to oversee all of the different product lines at Walmart. Activity sharing can also create risk because business unit ties create links between outcomes. If you were to think of your local supercenter, if people walk in to the pharmacy, that benefits the clothing area. It benefits the grocery area of the store, because more people walking in is more people to buy the other stuff while they happen to be there. However, just as it could be good, it could also become a negative for the company. If for some reason fewer people walk in the store, they're likely to negatively affect all of these different areas of the business. So with corporate relatedness, we're transferring core competencies at a corporate level. So using complex sets of resources and capabilities to link different business units through managerial, technological knowledge, experience, and expertise. We would see something like this with Disney, where there's knowledge, there's experience, there's expertise, there's branding, there's storytelling. It just links all of these things together, even when they're not operationally the same. So this creates value in two ways. For one, it eliminates resource duplication and the need to allocate resources for a second unit to develop a competence that already exists in another unit. This also can provide intangible resources that are difficult for competitors to understand and imitate. So a transferred intangible resource gives the unit receiving it an immediate competitive advantage over its rivals. You could take, for example, the Nike logo. Nike started off making and selling running shoes, but then they got into different kinds of shoes, which maybe had very similar operations, some operational relatedness there, but was also able to develop a benefit or able to enjoy the benefit of that brand. But then when you take that same Nike swoosh and you put it on a t-shirt, the operations of making and even using that t-shirt are different than making the shoe. But there's an intangible resource, the brand, that can be leveraged. And you can put that Nike swoosh on a t-shirt or a pair of shoes or a bag or a hat or a lot of other different things. And once you put it on that product line or business unit, you could say, the company has an immediate competitive advantage over a company that does not have that Nike swoosh. Market power is something that ends up being created here. So market power can be gained by firms successfully using a related constrained or related linked strategy. So market power exists when a firm can sell its products above the existing competitive level and or reduce the cost of its primary and support activities below the competitive level. This could help either in a differentiation strategy, selling at a higher price, or a cost leadership strategy. With lower costs, you can provide a lower price. Firms can foster market power through multi-point competition and vertical integration. So remember, multi-point competition or multi-market competition exists when two or more diversified firms simultaneously compete in the same product areas or geographical markets. And when they have this strong level of overlap, they tend to hold back on the competitive attacks because of the risk of escalating the competition to a point where neither of them would make very much money. This creates market power because both or multiple firms are able to essentially maintain higher margins and make more money because of that mutual forbearance. With vertical integration, a company produces its own inputs or owns its own source of output distribution. This also can create market power because the firm is able to either save money or to perhaps even charge more money by doing more of what is necessary along the value chain. So the ability to simultaneously create economies of scale by sharing activities and transferring core competencies at a corporate level is difficult for competitors to understand and imitate. It's very expensive to undertake and often results in discounted assets by investors. Investors sometimes may not know exactly how to value a firm's ability to put its logo on a new product, for example. How do you know how well that's going to be received by the market? And therefore, there can be some undervalued assets or discounted assets that ultimately end up allowing the firm to continue making money and to outperform expectations. We also have this unrelated diversification. When firms do not seek operational relatedness or corporate relatedness when using this particular unrelated diversification corporate level strategy. Financial economies are cost savings realized through improved allocations of financial resources based on investments inside or outside the firm. An unrelated diversification strategy can create value through two types of financial economies, one being efficient internal capital market allocation, and the other being asset restructuring. In a market economy, we assume that capital markets are efficiently allocated or efficiently allocate capital through equity and debt. In large diversified firms, the corporate headquarters office distributes the capital to all of its businesses to create value for the overall corporation. Think again of Berkshire Hathaway, where it could allocate investments in railroads or soda or fast food or other things that it's doing. Financial economies can be created when firms learn how to create value by buying assets at a low cost, restructuring the assets, and selling the assets at a price that exceeds their cost in the external market. Also by buying, restructuring, and then selling service-based assets for a profit in the external market. This is difficult when it's services or when it's intangible assets being used. And this is because technology firms and service-based companies have relatively few tangible assets that can be restructured to create value and sell profitably. Question number 3, I want you to describe the difference between sharing activities, such as equipment or distribution channels, across business units and sharing corporate relatedness, such as a brand or other competencies across business units. And go ahead and use examples in your descriptions.